Every morning before sunrise, Grace Williams knelt beside her bed with her Bible open. She thanked God for another day and prayed for wisdom, strength, and the opportunity to be a blessing to someone. Grace owned a small neighborhood grocery store. It wasn't a large business, but it provided enough for her to live comfortably. She greeted every customer with a warm smile, remembering names, asking about their families, and treating everyone with kindness and respect, whether they were wealthy professionals or struggling laborers. Grace had been raised in a loving Christian home. Her parents taught her that success wasn't measured by money, but by faithfulness, humility, and love for others. From childhood, she had learned to trust God in every season of life. Her favorite saying was, "God sees every act of kindness." One busy afternoon, a man walked into her shop dressed in simple jeans, a plain shirt, and worn sneakers. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Could you help me? I'm looking for Maple Avenue." Grace smiled. "Of course. You're actually very close. Go straight for 2 blocks. Turn left at the church, and you'll see it on your right." The man listened carefully. "Thank you so much," he replied. "You're welcome," Grace answered. "Have a wonderful day and travel safely." He smiled warmly before leaving. Grace returned to serving her customers without another thought. Several days later, Grace stopped at a local cafe after closing her shop. As she waited in line, someone behind her spoke. "I remember you." She turned and smiled. "The lady from the grocery store." "The man looking for directions," Grace laughed. "Exactly." "I'm Daniel." "I'm Grace." They ordered coffee and sat together, talking for nearly an hour. Their conversation flowed naturally. Daniel admired how genuine she was. Grace appreciated how humble and respectful he seemed. Before leaving, Daniel asked carefully, "Would you allow me to take you to dinner this Friday?" Grace hesitated for only a moment before smiling. "I'd like that." Dinner was wonderful. Daniel listened more than he spoke. He never boasted about himself or tried to impress Grace with expensive stories. Instead, he asked about her faith, her family, and why she always smiled. Grace answered honestly, "My parents taught me that Jesus is the greatest example of kindness. If I can reflect even a little of his love, then my day has been successful." Daniel quietly admired her heart. Week after week, they continued spending time together. One afternoon, Grace was watching the National Business Awards on television inside her shop. The announcer smiled. "Tonight we honor one of the country's most respected entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and business leaders, Daniel Carter." Grace nearly dropped the remote. The man walking onto the stage was Daniel. He was the owner of several successful companies, thousands of employees, and one of the wealthiest men in the country. Customers in the shop watched the ceremony with excitement. Grace simply stared. "I've been having dinner with him?" She couldn't believe it. He had never mentioned any of it. The next evening they met as planned. Grace smiled. "So, you're one of the richest men in the country." Daniel laughed softly. "I suppose that's true." "You never told me." "I wanted someone to know me, not my wealth." Grace nodded. "I've always believed that character matters more than possessions." Daniel smiled. "That's exactly why I kept coming back." As the months passed, their friendship grew into love. Together they volunteered at churches, supported charities, helped struggling families, and encouraged small business owners. Daniel admired Grace's unwavering faith. Grace admired Daniel's humility despite his success. One evening they walked through a quiet park. Daniel stopped beneath a large oak tree. "Grace, before I met you, many people admired what I owned. You were the first person who valued who I was. He knelt on one knee. "Will you marry me?" With tears of joy, Grace answered, "Yes." Their wedding was held in the small church where Grace had worshipped since childhood. Family, friends, employees, and neighbors gathered together to celebrate. Even after marriage, Grace continued running her little grocery store because serving people brought her joy. Daniel often visited the shop, greeting customers and helping carry groceries. Together they proved that true greatness is found not in wealth but in humility, kindness, faith, and love. As they walked hand in hand after closing the shop one evening, Grace smiled and said, "God knew exactly what He was doing the day you asked me for directions." Daniel smiled back, and he used one act of kindness to change both our lives forever. Months pass. God blessed them with 2 beautiful kids, and their family was filled with laughter, happiness, and love.